The first video of the year. Actually, we'll be getting into today's video in just a moment. I wanted to spend a few moments and express a little bit of gratitude for you. 2019 was a big year for Photography Talk. We crossed our 10-year anniversary, and on top of that, we finally jumped on YouTube. Actually, about 2 months ago, we jumped on YouTube. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a learning curve, and it's been an honor to be able to have you on this channel itself. I wanted to let you know personally that we have a lot of plans for 2020, a lot of new content, a lot of new goody stuff coming around the corner. So just a little bit of a thank you, a little bit of gratitude, and now I'm actually in a park here with my son, so I'm gonna get down and play with him here a little bit, and I'm gonna jump back in my studio and we're gonna shoot today's video. We are back, and it's 2020 style. It is so great, of course, to see your smiling face once again in 2020, a whole new year. I know. But you know what, I had a pretty uneventful New Year's Eve. I'm happy to say it was just my wife, my son, and well, we got friendly with Netflix. So whatever you did, I hope you had a great time, and now it's time to get back to business. And today we're going to be talking about a pretty kick-ass lens. Many of you know the Canon EOS R was my first Canon camera that I've ever owned. I waited for about a year after its release to pick up one of these, and you know what finally tipped me over to the Canon side? It's this lens right here, the RF 15-35 2.8L. Guys, in one word, this lens is badass. It has proven to be a go anywhere, do anything lens for me. In fact, while I plan to invest more in RF lenses, like the 2870 f2, for example, I'm not in a hurry because this lens, which by the way we're using right now to film this on, is so freaking good. So what makes this lens so great? Well, stick around to the end of this video and you'll get all the details, the good, the bad, and the ugly about this lens. Now pull up a seat, let's go. Okay, let's get this party started by having a look at some of the essential specs of this lens. First off, guys, this is a full frame RF mount, which means it has a larger diameter mount which yields better image quality, especially around the edges, and there are more contacts in the RF mount that increase the power to the lens, increase the bandwidth. Of course, you're talking a 15-35 focal length, which gives you an additional millimeter on the wide end of the lens over the 16-35 EF mount lens. You're getting 5 stops of oh so goodness image stabilization with this. You have electronic manual focus override, weather sealing. It has an 82mm filter size, which is cool because if you have the RF 2470 lens, you can use the same filters. It's 4.99 inches in length. Compare that to the 5.02 inches of the 1635 EF, which, speaking of which, the weight of this lens is 1.85 pounds compared to 1.74 of the 1635 EF mount, so just a tad bit heavier. If you look at these specs, you can see why it is so appealing to so many photographers. In addition to the benefits I already mentioned about the huge RF mount, it also allows for the elements in the back of the lens to be closer to the actual sensor, which helps reduce chromatic aberration. Now, according to Canon, moving the rear elements closer to the sensor increases the chances of flare and ghosting, which is why they developed a air spear coating and sub-wavelength structure coating to help keep flare and ghosting under control. Now, while having the one additional millimeter on the wide end might not seem like a big deal, it's actually quite noticeable. I'm primarily a landscape photographer, so I shoot a lot of wide end, and even just that 1mm, guys, has enabled me to get a little bit more creative with my compositions. As a side note, having the extra millimeter of focal range has been nice for shooting video too. Now, I don't shoot a lot of handheld vlogging, but when I do, the lens makes it so much easier because I can shoot at 15mm and not have to hold the camera out at a full arm's length. Instead, I can hold the camera just a few inches away and still get my entire face into frame. I do have to say, the lens has been a great option for the occasional portrait I take of my wife and my son as well. 5 stops of stabilization is also nice. In the past, Canon shooters either had to get a non-stabilized f2.8 or a stabilized f4, or I guess they could have gotten both, I guess, but you know, that's carrying around 2 lenses. But the fact that Canon has combined the 2.8 aperture with the stabilization in this lens is, yeah, it's a nice touch. The other thing that I think a lot of people notice when they check out the specs of this lens is how big and how heavy it is. Now guys, I'm not gonna lie, this thing is a beast. No joke. However, despite its size, it's extremely easy to handle. Actually, let's talk a little bit about the build and handling of this lens. As I noted earlier, this lens is nearly 5 inches long and tips the scales at 1.85 pounds. Now when you pick it up, it definitely feels like an L series glass, guys. It's weighty, it's robust, it's beefy, but it's not overly heavy or difficult to handle. In fact, when I ordered this lens, I was a little concerned that it would be a little bit awkward considering the small EOS R body. But guys, that's not the case at all. The combination of this lens and the EOS R is an absolute dream to handle. The lens feels beautifully balanced when shooting handheld, and you never get the sense that it's trying to tip forward due to its weight. This is aided by the fact that the lens doesn't extend very far when you zoom out to 15 millimeters. Of course, being an L series lens, the build quality is absolutely incredible. I love it. It's fully weather sealed to match the weather sealing on the EOS R. Since I do a lot of shooting at the beach while sand is flying around, this is a huge benefit to me as well. There's a customizable control ring that's handy for adjusting whatever you need to. You can set it to your aperture, ISO, shutter speed, white balance, or whatever. The optics, as you might imagine, guys, are top notch. There's 16 elements and 12 groups that provide clear, crazy sharp images. The lens is nearly 3.5 inches wide to accommodate all that huge glass elements inside this thing. To maneuver all the glass, Canon developed a nano USM motor that is crazy powerful, but guys, yet it's virtually silent. I do a lot of video recording these days, so definitely really appreciate the time and the effort Canon put into making the motor of this lens as quiet as possible. Let's talk about the image quality of this lens. I've been pleasantly surprised with the image quality of this lens. It produces excellent sharp images throughout the focal range. Additionally, it's proven to be quite sharp from edge to edge, though the edges obviously aren't as sharp as the center, but guys, that's kind of to be expected, right? What's really impressed me is the lack of distortion with this thing. In fact, even when shooting at 15 millimeters, it's tough to detect any distortion at all. The real kicker is that Canon has managed to eliminate distortion without digital corrections. It's all done optically. Between the sharpness and the lack of distortion, this lens definitely delivers on the image quality front. I bet you'd like to know what I don't like about this lens. Well, good for you, I'm gonna tell you. Actually, there's just one thing that I just really don't care for about this lens. The lens hood has a button on it that you can remove it from the lens, but the button sticks out just a little bit. I'm going to use this Z7 here just as an example because the Canon EOS R with the 15-35 is what we're filming on right now, but you'll get the point with this here. So if you carry around, this is the button I'm talking about here. The Canon has the exact same one. Let's see if we can get that in frame. Oh, come on, focus on the lens. Okay, right here. Okay, there's a little button on the side of the lens hood is what I'm talking about here. So if you're carrying the camera around on your right side like I do, it's easy for the lens to brush up against you and disengage this little lens hood lock. And when that happens, the lens hood can easily spin off and fall off. I experienced this exact problem just a week after I got this lens. And guys, I was in Disneyland with my family and didn't realize in the comments that the lens hood had fallen off. Yeah, big bummer, especially when I got home and I found out that to replace the lens hood, it wasn't cheap at all. It was 60 bucks. I've even had the second lens hood fall off a couple times as well too, but I guess now I'm kind of trained, my ears are at least trained to notice a clanking noise on the ground. Well, at least I haven't lost it yet. Yeah. Knock on wood. On my Nikon lenses, the tab to remove this lens hood is somewhat recessed, so it keeps it from being accidentally disengaged. And let's see if we can get this in here. Yeah, there you go. So you can see it is, you really have to press this thing down in order to get this thing to pop off. It would be nice if Canon followed the same design because I really don't want to keep buying these things, especially at 60 bucks a pop. Of course, you can mount the lens hood on the other side to avoid this problem. If you're carrying the camera on your right side, just invert the, well actually just, oops, if I can get this right here. So you just mount this, just spin it on the other side. So of course, rather than being on the tab being on the left hand side, it is now on the right hand side, and so problem solved. But I like the Canon logo on the top, and when you do that, the Canon logo ends up on the bottom side of it. So, but in all reality, I guess I'd rather have the Canon logo on the bottom than have to go shelling out 60 bucks because I lost another lens hood. Okay, let's talk about the price of this lens. Make no mistake about it, guys, this big bad lens has a big bad price. At the moment, it's $2,300. Now, that's a huge pile of cash, no doubt. If you think about it though, the non-stabilized EF 16-35 2.8.3 is $1,900. So for just an additional $400, that isn't really bad considering all the upgraded features that the RF lens includes. So while there is sticker shock involved, this thing is definitely worth it. For starters, it can be the only lens you have in your bag for a while. The focal range for folks like me that primarily shoot landscapes and video is spot on. In fact, the only RF lens that I have right now at the moment is this thing because it does everything that I need it to do. Secondly, the optic quality of this lens alone makes the price worth it. Like I mentioned earlier, the image quality, the sharpness, and the lack of distortion is really something to behold. Besides, this is the only full-frame wide-angle stabilized option at 2.8 I can think of. And well, actually, I think there's the 15-35 f2.8, which is stabilized, but that's also for a crop sensor. Well, you know what? If there's a full frame lens that I'm missing that's 2.8 and stabilized, put it in the description down below. But what's so exciting about this lens isn't what it can do now, though. While I love the EOS R and its 30.3 megapixel sensor, I just don't think it's able to capture all this lens is capable of. Now, when the EOS R S comes out, if that's what it's going to be called, you can bet everyone with the RF 15-35 f2.8L is going to be racing to put that camera and that lens together. With the high resolution sensor and the image quality of this lens, guys, I think we'll see image quality of the likes that Canon has never produced. So yeah, this is an expensive lens, but if you're on a limited budget, can only afford one RF lens, I think this one should be it. Well, there you go, guys. A quick little review on the 15-35 lens. A few things that I like about it, and one thing that I don't care about it. If you found this video to be helpful, hit the like button down below. If you've currently not subscribed to the channel, hey, what are you waiting for? We would love to have you part of this channel. Hit the subscribe button. While you're at it, hit the bell to be notified as we come out with new videos. So, all right, my friend, you have yourself an amazing day. Get out there and create your best shot.
Why did you take that off?
Because I'm doing work and everything, buddy.
Are you recording?
I will be in a minute, buddy. Here, go over there.
You will talk right
Okay.
in a minute.
Mm-hmm.